Onward and upward. Okay, let's do predictions for 2018. I have labeled this the unpredictable, the unusual, and the unknown. The astrology that moves us into the future. So, doing the predictions for this year has been an astronomical challenge. There's so much big astrology shifting, and when outer planets change signs, it's a big deal. And in December, we had Saturn, the first outer planet, shift into Capricorn, bringing with it seriousness and bitter coldness towards our outlook towards the future. And things got kind of gloomy pretty quickly. All of 2017, things have been getting really real. And the shock of that had many attempting to fall back into the old patterns and to lose themselves in addictive escapist tendencies that ranged from drugs, addiction, alcohol, falling into any illusion that supported the particular belief that made them feel comfortable. But it also illuminated the incredible dysfunction of many systems, governments, and the imbalances that have been slowly infecting and making our society toxic, the people ill and unhappy. That revelation of the lack of function, the lack of moral values, has created a type of chaos that breaks down systems and destroys foundational structures that have kept things flowing in a particular fashion. But as of all things, they have a time. And it has become crystal clear that that time that we were living in is definitely over. So now what? In the eruption of fear and the waves of anger that have infiltrated to a depth and level unprecedented in our experience, change always comes. But with all the energy focused in Capricorn, which is a frozen, melancholic winter sign, let's just say going has been a painfully slow and tedious cycle. Saturn in Capricorn wants to build something that will stand the test of time. But in Capricorn, there is a degree of attention to detail that bogs it down in the muck until there is a consensus and clarity, which presently is sorely lacking. So global massive change is inevitable this year. Total financial restructuring of global economics is also going to be rewritten. And all of that is being fueled by an evolution in consciousness where the priorities are going to be shifted to allow for a very new path for humanity. The progression cannot be stopped or held back. The fire has been lit, and that fire is one of purification that will burn down the houses of darkness and turn to ash those who stand in the way of the wave of humanity and earth connection. That is the good news. In a way, we're living the movie Avatar. I think it's sort of weird how we've had these films that have been reflecting what we're about to experience. We are now at the spot where nature is joining forces with humanity to fight back the tide of abuse of power that has fueled systems of corruption and greed to such a degree that the imbalance of life is clearly out of balance. And now nature is going to show these puny humans just how powerful she really is. Jupiter will continue to shine a bright light into the darkness of Scorpio, revealing those toxic, shameful behaviors of the most powerful and showing the dysfunction of power unchecked. That will continue through till November of 2018. Saturn will make this reality so uncomfortable that you can no longer ignore the truth nor the suffering that this world has created for so many animals, plants, ecosystems, and humans. Uranus beginning its ending in Aries in May shifts things in an explosive way. So from May of 2018 until November 6th of 2018, May 15th through November 6th of 2018, Uranus, the planet of disruption, change, revolution, is going to leave the fiery Aries sign and is going to go into Taurus. So you're going to have to get ready for that shift and make some necessary adjustments quickly. Adaptability is again going to be the saving grace in this year's chaotic changes. Uranus going out of Aries, and then it's going to go retrograde and it's going to go back into Aries, and it's going to allow you to review to see if you learned those lessons of being in a lightning storm until March 6th of 2019, at which point it's going to go into Taurus for the long haul, and it will be there until July 7th of 2025. To better understand this cycle, I prefer to look backwards in history to show us the potential of how something looked in the past to see if we can do a better job in the future. Sometimes I get this really strong deja vu because I believe that history is where I believe history is there to help us learn, but also to help us to remind us what has transpired so we can improve on a particular pattern. But it always amazes me how much humans ignore history of their own past and are thus caught once again to repeat the mistakes. When did we have Uranus and Taurus before? That would have been about 80 years ago. On June 6th, 1934, Uranus entered Taurus. These were the years right after the Wall Street crash and the Great Depression, creating a fertile ground for World War II. It was a time where ration coupons replaced normal currency. So I want you to think of Bitcoin right now. The value of currency went crazy in some countries, and questions arose around the fundamental value of human life. I expect this to completely repeat. What is the value of an old person who has paid into the system their whole life for Social Security and Medicare? What is the value of a human being? Think of the slave trade in Libya and the sex slave trade throughout the world. I will add to it that growing movement of protecting animals and nature. So also the question is, what is the value of livestock and the compassionate killing of animals that have feelings? The cycle is going to kick off with a bang in May 2018, and I expect you will be picking your jaw off the ground at many points and moments during that time. You will feel the storm building in April of 2018. At this point, we're on January 2nd, 2018. You can see the clouds gathering, and you can recognize that there has been a big shift in the wind. You know something is coming. You can feel it. It's kind of making the hair on your arms and the back of your head stand up. You know we're headed into some sort of economic storm and that no one's really going to be able to stop it. I expect some of this storm to be the revelation about the investigation into Donald Trump and his cohorts and the dangerous connections of the Republican Party and Russia and the fallout of consequences of treachery. There will be a rising up of the people as they take their power back. I almost feel bad for corporations that have been abusing people because the lawsuits are going to start and just keep coming. And if I were a corporation, I would clean up my act as quickly as possible, to tell you the truth. I would take the hit now and don't allow the resentment to build. I mean, humanity is going to be like a bomb going off in righteous indignation at a certain point. And companies that do right by their employees and act fair and use the money given to them by the Republicans in a way that serve their employees rather than the top echelon's pocketbooks might survive this wave of anger with minimal damage. Needless to say, that's a suggestion to those corporations listening to this. There's going to be a rise in cryptocurrency as people stop trusting bank and systems and instead prefer something that they feel they have more control over. I see more crowdfunding happening as people choose to support the people they feel connected to rather than the government. I am sure Uranus is going to bring more new and innovative ideas into manifestation, but right now we just cannot see what that might be. We're in such a new zone. I mean, everything is cutting edge and never have happened before, so it's a little bit hard to define what it's going to look like. I just don't think we've evolved enough yet to see where this is all completely going. But I expect things to shift quickly. And that's why you're going to need a level of adaptability and trust in your own fluidity and flow, as well as a strong trust in your intuitive knowing to be able to navigate this consciously, safely, and healthfully. Uranus in Taurus is about a revolution in money. And with Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, followed by Jupiter and Ceres over the next few years, I expect major changes in prime ministers, presidents, royal leaders, chief executives, as businesses and governments attempt to appease the people by bringing new and fresh blood into a chaotically changing world. People in power are going to have a really hard time. More than they've probably ever witnessed in the last 240 plus years. I expect to see jail sentences for many, and at the minimum, very expensive lawsuits for some of these people. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Pluto wants to transform everything forever, and what you know now is going to be completely practically worthless in a few years. The only alternative is extreme flexibility and a willingness to learn and adapt to totally new situations and a new world. I expect there to be massive legal reformations for corporations, governments, and democratic processes. We are in a time when we need a lot of tools, lots of new tools. There's going to be new inventions and new transformational technologies, and it's going to blow your mind. That's the good news. It's going to be really amazing. So by 2020, you're going to look back and think how silly and limited I was thinking during this particular time. Uranus is a planet associated with distancing yourself and feeling a cold contempt if you feel ignored or pushed aside. And again, corporations need to take heed of that warning. Saturn in Capricorn is about the people. It's not about kings and queens and all that kind of stuff. It's about the people, the laymen, the workers, and that voice is going to get much stronger under Saturn in Capricorn. So the change in the currencies could be particularly huge. The times of one bank, one credit card, one currency are really over. And people are sick and tired of Wall Street manipulating things, but not anymore. There's going to be this ground force swell as we forge a new way by the time this cycle is over. Uranus in Taurus is in the search for freedom, but I expect first for it to feel like a free-for-all. There's going to be a loss of security and stability for us to find a new known in an unknown world. Uranus replaces leadership. Just as Uranus was overthrown by Saturn, his son, who became the new king, I expect positions of power to change out of the old guard and into a younger and more innovative leadership. So Uranus is always shocking when it moves, and you should feel this type of psychological shock even coming in now. And that energy is sort of shaking the foundation of what you thought you knew. You are breaking the chains that have been limiting and binding you to a particular reality that is no longer functional. Perhaps you never realized how much the banking systems had controlled you and had kept you under their thumb. Uranus is an awakener. By 2026, you'll look back and wonder how you could have been so dumb and gullible. You will be shocked at how you were asleep and being used and manipulated by the powers that be lulled you into complacency. It's not unlike the movie The Matrix. I think that's why this movie has been so possible. This is a cycle where you will illuminate the depth and level of corruption that you never believed was even possible. It never dawned on you that there were people with no morals or values that would intentionally harm people to this degree. The darkness is going to continue to be exposed, and once exposed, the present system will not be permitted to continue. You are being set free to be a bright light of truth. Yes, it's going to be shocking and confronting, but it will be liberating. All you have to do is learn to manage your life in such a way that you keep moving forward. That's the way out of the dungeon of this old reality. So go towards the light. Do not stop, no matter how exhausted you feel. Uranus is going to invent a new world, and those that make it into the light will be able to contribute to the biggest shift in finance, technology, and spiritual evolution that any of us has ever seen. Do you want to climb to the top? Let's do it. Okay, so personalities sometimes define themselves based on what they have and how high they manage to climb. And I like to think of this Capricorn energy we're dealing with right now as skyscrapers and the fires that are presently happening in the world, and those people that just want to climb to the top no matter what. But I want you to think of those golden towers right now crashing down. And think of the flaws in construction as people of power cut corners and put in shoddy work to make more money at the cost of humanity and safety. And I think of the reconstruction of the financial systems also that are about to take place. So ultimately, I think this is a good thing. But the process is going to put all of us to the test. And know that you're here for a reason. You're here to support a better world, one that considers those without a voice or power. You're here to contribute to this time in the way that your soul is compelled to take action. You cannot do it all. The shift is so big that, we're going to have to compartmentalize or create little sections where you can add and complement your energy to it. And feel what's right. Follow your own intuition. This is a time that is less about personal power and individuation and more about combining forces that act for the good of humanity, animals, plants, and the world. The fulfillment is not about what you can get, but about what you came to give. This is going to be your legacy this year. This is going to be what makes you wake up in the morning and keep going. This is going to be what you tell your grandchildren as you help to mold a new world that is hopefully here to make them thrive. Thanks.